Good morning, students. Already it is clear to us what is ischemic heart disease and what is angina pectoris. I think this is much clear to us as per the previous class. Now we are going to find out the treatment of angina pectoris. Treatment means lots of measures are there. All together we will discuss later. Now first we will start the topic from the drugs what we can use in the treatment of angina pectoris. First one group that is called as nitrates. This is the most important drug whichever we are going to use in the treatment of angina pectoris. That is the nitrates. Nitrates we can divide into means majorly two types. One it is short acting. Short acting means glyceryl trinitrate, along with that long acting. Long acting you can take isosorbide dinitrate or isosorbide mononitrate. Okay, so they are nitrates. This may be glyceryl trinitrates, dinitrates, binitrates, mononitrates, but they are nitrates. So this is the first group that is called as nitrates. Next group we can use, that is the beta blocker. Already we have studied in the treatment of hypertension also. Example is propranolol. We can use that calcium channel blocker. Example, lots of examples are available. You can take verapamil, diltiazem, nifedipine. Okay. Along with that, we can use the potassium channel opener, that is nicorandil. So one by one we will go and we will find out whatever the mechanism of action of that particular drug, what is their adverse effect, what are the benefits we are going to get, what type of combination we can use. So we will discuss slowly. First of all, we are going to find out nitrates. Okay. So this is the most important drug which can save a life in that ischemic condition. What is the major function, how this is acting? This is our motto of this particular class. Remember that I should say this is a very intelligent drug. Two terminology I will teach you. What is this? Number one, that is afterload, and number two, it is preload, or you can tell vice versa because that is a cycle. Preload, afterload. Okay, so what is this preload and what is this afterload? Preload and afterload. These two are very related word of our heart. Okay, see, I am going to tell you, this is our heart. So in this heart, two atrium are there, two ventricles are there. So continuously there is a cycle, it is going inside of that. The blood is coming by this pathway and it will go by this pathway and it will eliminate by this pathway. Same way, this will come by this pathway, this will go and this will circulate to your whole body. This is the oxygenated blood, this is the deoxygenated blood. Okay, so continuously when this circulation is going on, two major stages are there, that is systole and diastole. So what is this systole and diastole? Systole means contraction of heart, diastole means relaxation of heart. So now we are going to find out when this systole is happening, then exactly cardiac output is happening, CO. Means at that time only, if it will go for systole, if this size will go for reduction, what size? The ventricular size will go for reduction, then only the blood will go outside due to that contraction. The ventricle has to get smaller, then only the pressure it will be there, more pressure it will be there, and due to that pressure the blood will flow outside. So whatever the pressure now it is having in the ventricle wall, that is called as afterload. Okay, so at the time of ejaculation of the blood from the ventricle, when it will go outside, whatever the tension it is there in the ventricular wall, that is called as afterload. Remember that. Now we have to find out what is preload. Afterload means afterwards, after filling the ventricle, the load, that is afterload. And what is preload? Before filling the ventricle. Before filling the ventricle means, suppose this blood is going to eliminate out. When this will get eliminated out, this will be empty. This ventricle will be empty because at that time the blood is rushing to the auricle. Blood, if will get filled up, then the blood will come to the ventricle. So in between of this time, after a complete systole, there is a time gap when that ventricle is free. Ventricle is free at that time. At that time, the atrium is getting fulfilled. So in this period, whatever the pressure it is there in the ventricle, that is called as preload. Why it is preload? Because the ventricle is empty. No, ventricle is not empty in your ischemic heart disease, or in your angina pectoris, or your myocardial infarction, whatever it may be, ventricle cannot be full empty. Why this? Because to empty that ventricle require high pressure. High pressure means high energy consumption is there. High energy consumption is there means more oxygen demand is there in that wall. But your body or your heart is unable to fulfill that demand. So your muscle is not getting that much energy, so it will not go for a complete systole. So when it will not go for a complete systole, it will not get this full reduction size. It will come in between of a middle size. So what it will happen? The full blood which has to ejaculate out, it will not get ejaculated. Some amount, some volume of blood, it will be residual in the ventricle only. Ventricle only, it will have the residual blood. Some volume of blood will be there. So whatever this pressure is called as preload. Means the load or the tension at the time of diastole. Okay, diastole in the ventricle. So now I told you this nitrate is very smart drug. What this will do? This will reduce both of your preload and afterload tension. But remember that nitrates prominently work or better work on preload reduction. It is having more efficient work on preload reduction. Nitrates shows the most prominent action on smooth muscle. So our vessels, all the vessels, it may be vein or arteries, whatever it may be. So these are made up by smooth muscle. So this smooth muscle, when it will get relaxed, automatically what it will happen? All the vessels will get relaxed and peripheral pooling of the blood will be more. Means peripheral pooling of the blood will be more means automatically what it will happen? The venous return will be decreased. If the venous return will be decreased, then the accumulation of the blood after a systole, that will be inhibited. Means whatever the residual blood it is coming back or it is going to stay over here after a systole, that volume will be reduced. Automatically at the same time, the size of this diastolic ventricle, it will also reduce. So remember that when this is happening, preload it is decreasing. That's why the tension inside of the ventricle at the time of diastole, that will also decrease. But at the simultaneously, if this tension will decrease, we can say cardiac output also will decrease. So cardiac output it is decreasing, but it will make balance. How come this will make balance? Because at the time of systole and diastole, whatever the pressure it's required to your myocardium wall, that is going to get the energy by the supply of blood, means oxygenated blood. So oxygen demand is more because the diastolic size was more previously at the time of angina. Diastolic size was more, and due to this over diastolic size, it has to go for systole and it's require more pressure to reduce the size. So for that more oxygen consumption was there. Now here it has not gone for full diastole. Diastolic size has reduced. So from this diastolic reduced size to come back to the systole or to make a complete systole, what it will happen? Less energy it's required. And at the same time, number 3 points, at that same time it will produce a complete systole. So when it will make a complete systole, the ejaculation of full blood will be there. Means full blood will get ejaculated and it will give the proper supply. Previously what was the condition? There was more working of the heart but less output. In the time of angina pectoris or myocardial infarction, the heart is pumping more, it is trying more, it is giving more energy because it is going for complete diastole and it is once again try to make a complete systole, so it's require more energy to come back. It was the situation. Now what it has happened? The preload has reduced. For that purpose, the whatever your volume of blood is there at the time of diastole also, this is also less. At similar time, your diastolic size also decreasing, but a complete systole it is producing in the ventricle. So what it will happen? Automatically your energy consumption will be reduced. Means with the minimum supply of energy, it can perform a better work. Better work means intelligent work. It will not give the much more labor as like previously in the pathogenic situation of angina pectoris it was. It is not going to perform more, but it is giving the smart result. That is the preload reduction. At the same time, we are going to find out it is going to reduce your afterload also, heart afterload also. But it is having more prominent action on preload as I told previously. So when it will reduce the afterload, automatically the total peripheral resistance it will fall down. So total peripheral resistance it will fall down means BP also will fall down. But here the systolic BP fall down will be more than the diastolic BP. Okay. So in this particular situation, it is indicating the workload of the heart it is decreasing. Remember that in this preload reduction, it follows the Laplace reaction. What is this? Laplace reaction means the tension is equal to item or the combination of the result of multiplication of two factors. What are these two factors? One is the ventricular pressure, intraventricular pressure, and the ventricular diameter. So the total tension is equal to the intraventricular pressure and multiplied by the ventricular diameter. So here what it is happening? The ventricular diameter it is reducing. It is not going for a complete diastole, but it is going for a complete systole. So ultimately we are achieving our goal by giving less energy. By giving less energy, it is performing better than the previous situation. Nitrates also manage the distribution of coronary blood flow. Yesterday in the previous class I told you coronary circulation is depending upon three main coronary arteries. On these three main coronary arteries, they are the major coronary arteries. Among that, lots of arterioles they are generating. But this is going to redistribute. How this will going to redistribute? It will make the dilation of the coronary vessel in which area? In where this your infraction has produced or ischemia has produced. So where this particular ischemia had produced, that major coronary arteries will get dilated more. That is also a very intelligent work. So when this particular artery will get dilated, automatically there the blood supply will be more, and blood supply will be more means heart, that particular ischemic region will get more oxygenated blood supply and it can rejuvenate. So there is a not like that all the coronary circulations they are increasing the flow, because it is not possible. It is not increasing the cardiac output as I told earlier also, but it is working smart way. How it is acting in smart way? All the coronary vessels, whatever the coronary arteries are there, Out of that, which artery is responsible for this ischemic area production? That artery, that coronary artery will dilate more. That major coronary artery will dilate more, and the oxygenated blood supply will increase over there. That is called as redistribution of blood flow. That is also a very smart word. Now we have to find out how this nitrates is performing this work so nicely. So for that purpose, only one thing we have to remember: nitrates dilates the smooth muscle, or it relaxes the smooth muscle. So how it is relaxing the smooth muscle? Whenever this particular actin and myosin is there, they will get overlap, means that is the contraction it will produce. So how they will get overlap? How they are going to get overlap? Because troponin, tropomyosin, two other filaments are there which is keeping actin myosin away. How means what it will happen? Whenever that calcium will go, calcium will bind with troponin and tropomyosin. Troponin, tropomyosin, calcium complex will become inactive. That time only actin myosin overlap and contraction produce. So MLCK, myosin link chain kinase, activate when myosin will get activated and it will overlap with the actin. So here this will go, this particular nitrates, it relaxes. This is the nitric oxide superoxide which is making the relaxation on the smooth muscle. It makes the dephosphorylation of myosin link chain kinase. So what is responsible for that contraction? Myosin will get activated by this myosin link chain kinase, and after that myosin will get binded with actin and that contraction will produce. So what it will happen? MLCK will get inactivated or dephosphorylation will happen. Okay, so if this will get dephosphorylated, so the availability of phosphorylated myosin link chain kinase to activate myosin, it will inhibit. Availability of the myosin link chain kinase in phosphorylated condition, means activated condition, it will get suppressed. So what it will happen? Availability of this will get decreased, means myosin will not get activated to bind with your actin. So actin myosin will not get bind over, there is no contraction. By this way nitrates is working. Nitrates is a very good choice of drug. That is sometimes a single dose of nitrate, that is sorbitol. Okay, it may save a life of a ischemic heart patient, sublingual dose. But though it is having some of the side effects like dizziness, fullness of head, blurred vision, along with that rashes. But one of the major unwanted side effects some of the patients are going to face, that is methemoglobin formation. That is also an unwanted side effect of nitrates. But though still it is a very intelligent drug, and this is very popular in the treatment of ischemic heart disease. Whatever the combinations we can use, later on we are going to discuss. Next group of drugs we are going to find out, that is beta blocker. Beta blocker already we have studied in the treatment of antihypertensive drugs. So this beta blocker, if we will tell the first name, it will come, that is propranolol. Propranolol. So this propranolol, it is a, once again this is also a very good drug. Means good drug means it is also a very intelligent drug. How come this is acting? This is acting in different pathway. Means we have seen already, previous class I have discussed that adrenergic drug, it's act by two types of receptor, alpha and beta. Beta in heart, it is going to increase the actions. Okay, so automatically the increase the action means positive inotropic, positive chronotropic, these actions is there. So what it will happen, whenever you are going to give that beta blocker, it will decrease the tropic action. If you are going to give the beta blocker, it will decrease the tropic action. But in vessel, beta is beta drug or beta receptor added drug, whatever the drug is there which is acting on beta, the in blood vessel, they are decreasing the blood pressure. So we have seen as being the beta blocker, still how it has used or it is in the used as an antihypertensive. This particular drug, beta blocker, it's not going to dilate the vessel. It only, this beta blocker reduces the cardiac work and the oxygen consumption. So when there is a lack of cardiac work and oxygen consumption, automatically what it will happen? Your heart will get rest. Your ischemic heart will get rest. It no need to work more. So if its working capability will reduce, your working need it will reduce, automatically the oxygen demand also will reduce. Circulation means the ischemic area it is going to supply, that demand also it will get reduced. By this way this is acting. Means it is not like nitrates, means it's not going to increase the diameter of the vessel, it's not going to relax the vessel, it's not going to relax your coronary arteries also, but its work varies in different way. How come it is working? It is redistributing. How this is redistributing? It is decreasing the cardiac workload. So cardiac workload it will decrease means automatically the oxygen demand it will decrease. So this is the work of propranolol. Next group we are going to find out, that is the calcium channel blockers. Calcium channel blockers means it is very clear to us, already we have studied, MLCK we have studied. So what it will happen? This calcium channel blockers means this is the channel by which pathway the calcium is getting entry. So this channel will get blocked. What it will happen? The calcium will not get the entry. So if the calcium is not getting the entry inside of the cell, it will not hit the sarcoplasmic reticulum to release more quantity of calcium. So more quantity of calcium will not be available to bind with your troponin and tropomyosin. So troponin, tropomyosin, calcium complex, it will not form. So what it will happen? There is no chance or lack chance of myosin and actin overlapping. So myosin and actin overlapping, it will get decreased means automatically your vessels will get relaxed. Vessels will get relaxed, automatically the flow it will increase and the ischemic area will get more oxygenated blood supply. But remember that here in calcium channel blocker we are using nifedipine, verapamil, diltiazem, but they are having a unwanted side effect. I should tell you, because see, I'll tell you, the heart it is generating the impulse. From where the heart is generating the impulse? From the SA node. Okay, so SA node it is generating the impulse and AV node it is collecting the impulse and transmitting the impulse. How this SA node is generating the impulse? By using the calcium supply. So if this calcium channel will get blocked, automatically the effect will go on SA node also. So SA node impulse generation will get reduced. Okay, so for longer use of calcium channel blocker, it may alter our heart activity in different way. We have to give chance to recover the heart, means proper diagnosis and proper doses of calcium channel blocker has to be used. Remember that calcium channel blocker is a very good co-prescription along with some beta blockers or along with some nitrates. I told you potassium channel opener, example nicorandil we have taken. So in this potassium channel opener, this is also you can tell the same type of action but in different way. I taught you in the previous classes, wherever the sodium will go, calcium will follow that same side it will go. The potassium it is an intercellular ion, but at the time of what is this depolarization, potassium go out and sodium get in. Sodium get in means calcium get in. So potassium channel opener, what is the meaning of that? By this way, the more quantity of potassium it will get inside of the cell, the potassium influx will be there. So potassium influx will be there, means automatically sodium and calcium outflux will be there. So calcium outflux will be there, means definitely it is indicating the relaxation of our whatever the coronary arteries is there, or whatever the blood vessels are there. Okay, so this relaxation will be there. So by following this relaxation, your ischemic area will get more, means vessel will get relaxed, means more oxygenated blood supply will reach there. So by this way this is acting. So these are the types of drugs. So what we means in very brief I told, because in detail I will discuss with you in the evening session in the practical. So this session is very much important. Prior to coming to the practical session, please go through detail about this matter, means whatever I taught you. So if any confusion is there, then I may clear you, and there will be an interactive session on this, and the numbering will be on that basis. Okay, in the practical, today's practical. So here we are going to find out, once again I am repeating, we have today in today's topic we found the treatment protocol of angina pectoris, and few drugs, group of drugs we came to know. Number 1, that is nitrates. Number 2, that is the beta blocker. Number 3, calcium channel blocker, and number 4, we can tell the potassium channel opener. Out of that I told you nitrates is the very good choice of drug, and it is the best drug what we can use in the ischemic condition. So nitrates is going to decrease the preload of more than the afterload. Calcium channel blocker, basically it decreases the afterload, because it's blocking the calcium channel, means contraction of the systole is going to get affected over there. So at the systole pressure it will decrease by using this calcium channel blocker. And beta blocker, we have seen this is working very smart way, it reduces the heart activity. So three most important group, that is the nitrates, beta blocker and calcium channel blocker, we can use with the combination like that. Calcium channel blocker along with that nitrates, means you are decreasing simultaneously preload along with afterload also. Okay, preload it is going to decrease by the nitrates, and afterload it is going to decrease by the calcium channel blocker. If you are using beta blocker with the nitrates, means you are decreasing the preload, some extent afterload, along with that you are remodeling the working structure of the heart, means heart will work more smartly, heart will work less, and it will produce the better action. So these are the few combinations we can use in the treatment of angina pectoris. So this is an ischemic disorder. Once again, previous day also I have told, and once again today also I am telling you or brushing you up. This is a disorder, if it is early diagnosed, if it is early treated, that is better. If it is kept for longer duration without treatment, it may degenerate, it may further deteriorate up to myocardial infarction, cardiac failure, to death. So today is up to this much. Take care, and we are going to meet in the evening session in the practical. Okay, take care.